Hello, everybody. Welcome to Saturday Night Live Stream. So, anybody who's new, I'm Candace. Next to me, we've got our special guests tonight, Tim and Nancy Danter. I'm sure you guys all know them. But in case you have no idea who Tim and Nancy Danter is, we'll start off very quickly, just sort of getting some introductions from Tim and Nancy. Tim, Nancy, who the banana bread are you two?
Well, we're just we're like I didn't.
Are you tongue tied finally?
A little bit.
Hi, my name's Tim Danter. You might have seen me on Discovery Canada's channel, Canada's Worst Driver, for 7 seasons. I've also been a licensed driving instructor for 34 years. The reason being McDonald's wasn't hiring at the time. I actually met this person because I taught her sister how to drive. I did marry the girl around the corner, literally, and we've been together 31 years. Nance?
That was really good, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that pretty much sums it up. We've been married for 30 years, I guess. That. And we have been small business.
Follow the cue cards.
Stop. We've been small business owners for most of our married life, and working together, and we're still married, if you could believe that. We had several franchises of a very famous Canadian franchise, which is Young Drivers of Canada, hence driving instructor. And then we left them and went out on our own under a company called DriveWise, where we brought in great big simulators as part of the training program. Was really cool. We really innovative company, and so we did that for a while, and then I left, and Tim did that. I helped you run the business.
Okay, you turn the machine on.
Anyway, and then in the 2008 crash, we found ourselves in quite the pickle. That was actually the year we left Young Drivers and went out on our own into the DriveWise business. And you know, it was a very difficult time for us because it was a huge risk for us to leave us a well-established brand that we had been building in our area for 20 plus years. And then, you know, in order to do the big switchover, we needed to remortgage our house because we needed to get the money to buy those simulators. We needed to have the money also to do a big marketing campaign so people understood what we were, because we're no longer under the Young Drivers banner. And so we'd been in a really good cash position for a long time. And then we did the switch over, and it was 2008. And then we all know in the fall of 2008, what happened is the market crashed. So we had the franchises in the Oakville, Milton, Burlington area, and our biggest center was Oakville, actually. And so Oakville is very tied to that stock market. Like the vast majority of the money in that town is all attached to finance. And the second that the market crashed, you could have shot a cannon through our place. Like the phones literally stopped ringing, and nobody was buying driver training at all. And we had to do some really extraordinary things to keep our business afloat. Really, really extraordinary things. And you know, I remember it was Christmas time. We had to let our instructors off and let some of our instructors go. And that was one of the toughest things we had to do, because some of them had been around longer than we had been around in the company. But it was the only way to get through. And so in January of 2009, I found myself thinking, shoot, one of us needs a job. We're not sustaining our life with just him and no, you know, just the one income, basically, from a company that wasn't selling anything. So I landed myself a job in a restaurant. I was running I started off as, the only thing that they would hire me for was a hostess at Milestones. And we just needed grocery money. And so I was willing to do anything. So I couldn't get enough shifts as a host. So I ended up taking some shifts as a dishwasher. Didn't care. I just needed grocery money. And so, and so that's how I started learning about the restaurant industry and the food industry. So we were running the business during the day, and I was working at the restaurant at night. But we got really innovative, I think, would be the thing that we, at one point we had a truck already. So we bought a blade for the front of our truck. So Tim and I were doing snow plowing in the winter. We literally will do anything to make money. This is one of the things you'll find out from Tim and I. We are not afraid of hard work. We will roll up our sleeves, and no job is too good for us ever. And so I did Milestones. I ended up being their assistant general manager. I helped run that for about 5 years. And then I got a call from a headhunter asking me if I would ever considered selling. And I thought, oh, I don't know if I could sell anything. And so I took a risk, went over to Gordon Food Service and became a sales rep selling to small restaurant chains, not even chains, like the mom and pop restaurants. And I loved it. I loved it. I got to play with food all day long. I got to help people grow their businesses, their small businesses. And then I just grew my career with them. Now I'm one of their directors. I'm in charge of their healthcare, and healthcare would include retirement homes, long-term care facilities, hospitals. And I just had gotten that job about a year before the pandemic hit. So it's been a crash course in learning about the healthcare system in Canada, because I run the division for all of Canada. And Tim's now still in the driver training business, but in a niche section of it, because we sold our business off. But we've done some really fun, cool things over our life. We've had some online businesses. We've done a bunch of fun things in our time. But the best thing is we did it, and we're still married, and we didn't go bankrupt. We ended up paying off everybody that we'd ever borrowed any kind of money from. We live very small now. We don't have a big grandiose house. We actually rent, and everything we own is makes us money. So it really, when you have a very, very stressful financial problem happen to you, you can do one of two things. You can either fold up and
as I put it, there's always a solution and there's always a soother. We took the solution.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm really proud of us. Like I think my favorite thing is, as I said, we managed to stay married. And I mean, I can totally see how financial strife can pull marriages apart. We went through a phase there where we just stopped talking to each other. And I think it was more because the two of us were afraid to tell the other one how scared we were about our situation. And it took us a long time to start talking to each other again. And I can see now why couples get torn apart when the finances go sideways. But one of the things that I think was that we did well was we never stopped moving. I think that's the biggest piece of advice I give people who find themselves in really bad financial situations. Don't stop moving.
Do you know that it's an actual law? Do you know that it's an actual law, folks? I'm not kidding you. Totally serious. It's
things in motion tend to stay in motion.
What's at rest will stay at rest. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Amen.
Absolutely. Physics 101.
Every action has an equal reaction.
Right.
Okay. Now, I think what people might be also interested to hear about is what inspired you guys to move towards crypto?
Well, she was getting to that. Thanks for tuning in for tonight's show. Get part 2 next week on Candace's show, live 8:00 Saturday night.
What got us into crypto? It was funny because I had a girlfriend, I had a guy friend who actually Tim was working with, send me a little video about a company called MTI. And it was all about how you could take you buy your Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was growing, but if you put it with MTI.
This is not common knowledge, so this is an exclusive actually to Candace's channel.
Oh yeah, I don't think we've ever told anybody this story. Anyway, so we put our money into this with the guy that Tim's works with. Like, we trusted him, and he didn't do anything. He believed it was right too. Anyway, so he sent me a video about Bitcoin, and how it was growing, but not just Bitcoin, but if we put our money with this MTI, that it could go in and all the Bitcoin was being pooled together and it was being traded daily on the Forex. And so you could make a little bit more Bitcoin every single day. So I started with $350 because I thought, that's all I'm willing to lose at this point in time.
That was at the beginning of 19, right?
2020.
No, it couldn't be 2019.
No, we were in the pandemic. We were definitely in the pandemic. So it was 2020 and June of 2020. And the price of Bitcoin was about $8,000 US at the time, hovering in and around there. And so I put in $350. And then I got so excited every day. I was seeing my little statement from MTI. I was like so excited. I'm like, oh my God, this is growing. But I still didn't understand what it was. And so I started watching stuff on YouTube because I love YouTube. And so we started watching a whole bunch of stuff, found Anthony Pompliano, and he explained it so that I really got it. I ended up watching the Anthony Pompliano video, I think 5 times, until I could almost say it, like speak what he was saying. And I love the concept of it. I was seeing what was happening in the economy. I'm in the middle of this pandemic trying to manage through supply chain and inflation that was happening in front of my face. And I'm thinking to myself, we're in trouble. And none of the stock market stuff made sense to me. I'm like, there's no way that we should be this high again. What the heck's going on? I was unclear. I moved all my money that I had in my retirement investment into like a cash holdings because I just felt unclear. But Bitcoin made sense to me. So we started putting it in. But Anthony Pompliano was a big one talking about BlockFi. And so then everything we started watching was BlockFi. So I said to Tim, well, I want to put more money into this thing. So I started putting it equally into BlockFi and into MTI. I thought, I'm just going to put it into 2 different places. This one earns interest. This one is traded on the Forex. This is all great. Then this time last year, I would guess it's in December 23rd or 24th. No, it wasn't Christmas. Maybe it was just after Christmas. We went to go and take the money out of MTI so we can move it over to BlockFi. Because at that point, BlockFi was paying good interest and da-da-da-da. Anyhow, yep, MTI ran away with all the money. Bitcoin gone. And
yes.
I was crushed, like literally crushed. We drove up to the cottage and the whole way up, I'm saying to Tim, I need to do something to take my mind off of this. I need to do something to take my mind off of this. What the hell are we going to do? I can't believe we've just lost one full Bitcoin. At the time, it was $20,000. I'm like 20,000 US. I'm like, oh my God, how could we have been so stupid? Da 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 da. Anyways, long and short of it, that's why we decided on January 1st we needed a project. So we thought we would start a YouTube channel. Like there was no thought to it at all, Candace. It was just like I woke up. Okay, maybe I saw a girl. She lost all this weight using the keto diet. She did a 1-year challenge and she literally videotaped herself every day losing weight. And in 1 year, she'd lost like 70 pounds. I go, why don't we do this? But we'll do it with earning money, probably in crypto. Or I said, why don't we videotape ourselves doing anything, making money? You and I can do that. So that's how the whole damn thing started. I was frustrated, sad, and we needed a new project. That's how it started.
Oh, that sounds very cool. I definitely remember the plungers. I just can't forget your plunger crafts.
And those damn things sold $50. Can you believe that?
Oh, I know. It's amazing. You can take some things.
There's a shit ton of money in that.
There's the first dry joke from Tim.
So,
Anyway.
Perfect. All right. So, guys, what we're going to do here tonight, we got 3 little things. We're going to talk a little bit about something called a Pi phone. Then we're going to get to the main event, which is diversification. So not just in crypto, but we're going to sort of take it across the whole board because you can't ignore the stock side when you're talking about diversification. Then after that, we're going to take the Bitcoin chart. We're going to take it blank, and I'm going to show you how to do some basic TA on it. And I'll actually show you how we make that fancy chart that you guys have been seeing around. And at the same time, while we're doing that, we'll also be able to sort of predict what's going to happen next with Bitcoin. So that's where we're heading at tonight. So I think it's going to be an exciting night as we start to unwind.
Excellent.
Now, has anybody heard about the Pi phone yet?
Is it a piece of pie? Is it
no.
pi like 3.14?
Yes. So it is spelled PI.
Really?
So, in a nutshell, the Pi phone is the rumored phone that Tesla is building.
Oh, geez.
I know. It's supposed to be able to do a lot of crazy stuff. And it's looking like it may even drop before the end of this year.
Get out.
If you believe the rumors, apparently they're getting really close with this thing.
I saw that the shape was elongated.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
That's
So-
why I'm on.
Here's the interesting thing with this phone. So what the Pi phone is supposed to do is it's supposed to be able to communicate. First of all, if you have a Tesla car, it'll be able to communicate seamlessly with it. So you'll be able to do some things like start the car using your phone, for example, instead of using keys. In addition to that, if you have Neuralink, you'll be able to use it with Neuralink as well. So in the case of an accident, this phone is supposed to be able to read your emotions, your thoughts, to be able to get you help. So that's another feature of this Pi phone. In addition to that, it mines Mars coin. So Mars coin doesn't exist yet, but it is a crypto that Elon is developing to use on Mars. He sees it as being the currency of Mars, and he also sees this phone as being the phone to use on Mars. Like, this sounds like really, really weird, but we're talking Elon, so.
Does he really believe we're going to be able to be in Mars?
Well, here's the deal.
soon?
Here's the deal. If we were having a conversation about something like this 20 years ago, we'd say, it's just a TV show. It's just, someone in MIT doing stuff like this. I think we've learned, especially in today's day and age, and Candace and all of us in this community understand that stuff's not too far fetched. So I have more trust that he's probably going to do something like that more than I would distrust it.
Well, and here's the other couple features that we also still have with it. The thing has solar power panels on it, so you can actually charge this phone from the sun. Take it outside.
Wow.
You don't have to go looking for a charger. You can just use the sun to charge it. And it will be able to link with Starlink. So you'll be able to get a high-speed interconnection pretty much any place on the planet. That's kind of the whole idea of this phone.
So can we talk about Starlink for a second?
Yeah,
Is
of course.
Starlink going to be, are they saying it's going to be available everywhere?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, Starlink, there's a bit of a delay. It's not going to roll out as fast as we thought because of the chip shortage.
But that is Elon's vision. His vision is that he is going to be bringing the internet and high speed to the world. It doesn't matter whether you're in the desert. It doesn't matter whether you're, up in the mountains where Ney is. You're going to get it.
Right. But here's the sales pitch. This is a really interesting one. If you're a person who is out in the middle of nowhere, even if you're just going out there for a brief amount of time, you're not going to buy an $800 receiver for Starlink to take with you. You'll probably just buy a Pi phone because it will be able to do it without needing that extra receiver. So for anybody who, for example, search and rescue, or anybody who is a hunter or goes off of the normal grid and they want to be able to have access to the internet in case of an emergency or something, that's going to be a huge selling point for this phone. Interesting. It is kind of interesting, and there's a lot of speculation that Apple is not very happy because, this looks like it could be an iPhone killer.
Well, I do remember a company called Blockbuster
Mhm.
I thought you were going to say like
And
BlackBerry.
well, I do remember them as
Wow.
well. Yep.
I remember BlackBerry too.
Yep.
And didn't we invest in Nortel?
Nortel, we did. Yeah.
We got
Mhm.
excited when Nortel was going down. We thought, oh, we'll buy
This is the
in.
time to buy.
Buy the
Yeah.
dip. That
No, that
concept.
was the Titanic.
That wasn't that. What it wasn't. Good.
Anyway, that's really interesting.
Yeah. That's the thing. I had not even heard about these. I just happened to run into an article on it today, and I was like, "Holy banana bread! I've never heard of this before."
Mm.
And you're
And I
saying
was
he's
just
going to have a prototype proof of concept by the end of the year?
That's what I've heard. That's what right now the tech community is speculating on it. Because I was looking at some tech stories today just for something else, but I ran into this and I was like, "Holy, this needs to come on the show," because I don't think too many people have heard of this.
See, here's what I don't get. I don't understand. I mean, this is great, and he's actually the guy that I would
Mhm.
expect to have these outrageous ideas and bring them to
Yeah.
light. But what I don't understand is why he hasn't developed chips and he's not taken advantage of these chip shortages and developing his own
Well,
chips.
who's to say he isn't behind the scenes?
I guess, yeah.
I mean, look at these robots. We didn't really know he had these nearly developed robots until he marched one out on stage. So he's probably doing something like that behind the scenes. And I believe as well that when Apple said they were going to make their electric car, that probably annoyed him a bit to the point that it may have even sped up the whole Pi phone thing.
Here's a question for you. Do you think that if Steve Jobs was still alive, that Apple would be in this position or further ahead like Tesla and Elon is?
That is a good question.
It's hard to speculate on. I mean, Steve Jobs was a brilliant guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say. They may have been a lot further ahead than where they are now, depending on what type of inspiration hit him. But it would have been interesting for sure. But I think Elon's kind of
He's different.
He's an unmovable force or an unstoppable force.
Well, okay, but don't you think though, any one of us, that if we'd made it to that status of having billions and billions, where your money is exponentially growing faster and faster and faster, anything you thought up in your head, you could try and do because you had the resources to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like we would have my little metaverse that I came up with on Ken's show last night.
Oh, geez. Tell us what that was. What did you come up with?
A metaverse based off of Monopoly.
Oh, boy.
So the only land plots in the entire metaverse are the ones that are on the Monopoly board. And people would then go in, they would explore, they would pay rents and things as they go onto different people's properties. I just thought it would be like one of these really, really cool things. Like you could develop it into a gaming system where
Totally
people could
cool.
do real life Monopoly, but there'd be real actual owners. And you could have more than one board, like within the game. It could be sort of like a whole tier of boards.
Oh.
So every person, because otherwise you've only got like maybe
18
20
properties. Yeah.
Well, if you count the railroad, so on that.
It's kind of like that Big Bang Theory when they developed that multi-layer chessboard.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Did
that came from Star Trek, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the OG Star Trek had 3D chess. So that was kind of where they were.
I saw that one, the OG. What's that one?
Well, the original. OG stands for original. So the one from, with William Shatner and all of the old people.
And they're getting old now.
There's not many of them left. I think it's just William Shatner and George Takei. And, I think Nicole, what's her name? Nicole, the one who played Uhura.
Yeah. I think didn't she die?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Ryan will probably tell us because I think he knows Star Trek better than any of the rest of us here. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I love all this stuff. I think it's interesting. I love futuristic, the thought of the future.
So Candace, does that going back to the phone? Is he going to connect? Is it just he's producing the hard hardware, or is he actually developing a network? Like he's not going to use AT&T or Rogers and stuff. Is he just producing the hardware?
From my understanding, the network is going to be his satellites.
So for now, it's going to have to connect to.
Well, here's the thing: all of these satellites can communicate with each other. He doesn't need towers. You connect it to a satellite, and you've got a faster network than 5G. And plus he also wants these phones on Mars, so he'll have to be looking at putting satellites around Mars as well.
How many years will it take in an aircraft for us to get to Mars?
Right now, with current technology, 3.
Sorry, you're never going to get there in an aircraft.
But that's not
a spaceship.
That's not,
you will,
yeah.
not an aircraft.
But when I say 3, that's a round trip. Because what you have to realize is when you can only leave at a certain time of year, you basically have to wait for Earth and Mars to be lined up before you leave. And you also have to wait for them to be lined up before you go back. Because the way the orbits work, if the Earth's on one side of the sun and Mars is on the other side of the sun, it's just impossible to get to them because the distance is a lot bigger. So you have to wait till they're aligned.
You're telling me that in a good case scenario, it takes us 1.5 years to get to Mars?
Well, it's probably about a year itself. So you're looking at least about a year. Actually, I think it's 9 months. I think in 9 months you can get there. The most of that time is that time waiting for the realignment to happen again before you can return.
Oh, yeah, but I mean actual time in space. The actual time in a vehicle.
You're looking at about 9 months right now. But keep in mind, they're looking at trying to get this fixed. Right now, Tesla has been testing a light sail. So
what?
It's a light sail, basically giant sail that opens up on a ship. It's made of a very reflective Teflon type material. And what it does is the sunlight hits it and bounces off of it. So basically creating a reaction. So basically when something hits something, the other thing will move in the opposite direction.
It creates a force.
Yeah. And that's how a light sail works. Now, a light sail will keep on accelerating as long as the sun is hitting it. So you can pick up some good speeds, and then you only have to really worry about stopping. So you'd have to take fuel. Well, you'd have to bring.
Yeah.
You would have to bring fuel with you to stop. So that's kind of one.
So you're telling me we would be in a spaceship for 9 months, one way?
That's right.
Holy jeez.
But you see, here's the other issue. We have to be able to protect those astronauts from cosmic rays. Because unlike the comic books, cosmic rays aren't going to turn them into the Fantastic Four. It's going to kill them. So there has to be a lot of shielding. So there's still things to be worked out. But
I'd say
they think they can get it there, but it's not 100% safe. You want to make it safer. So it's going to be the robots that go there first, obviously.
Which is why he's developing them.
Well, exactly. He'll send the robots because the robots, you don't have to worry about the shielding. Minimal shielding because you obviously want to protect the electronics in the robots. But you get the robots there, they can then build the habitat that way there. So when you do send the humans will have a place where there's already oxygen being produced. So they don't have to be in that situation where, they have that time limit to get it done before they run out of air type thing. So it's going to be interesting.
Okay, so can the robots get there faster than
No.
the humans? That doesn't matter what you send up there.
Not unless he comes up with a better solution. Right now, rocket fuel it's a very inefficient use of energy. Now, there are other options. There are other designs that are being worked on, whether they'll work or not. So there's the thoughts of using some kind of a nuclear powered engine. The only problem with that is there are treaties right now on the planet that don't allow you to take certain types of radiation up into space, like plutonium, for example, or uranium. So you kind of have to work around that. There's also thoughts of like an ion engine, where you're basically using a reaction to create ions to shoot just electrons out the back, and that would cause your thrust. So there's a lot of different theories, a lot of different
But
things.
right
that
now,
could work.
with the sale, it's perpetual motion.
That's right. So with the sale, but they still need the fuel because they need to be able to stop. Then if they want that sale to come back, they wouldn't.
Oh, right.
The problem is you'd be sailing against the solar wind. So you don't have the light. You can't use the light to come back. Unless you did space tacking. So using angles. So instead of coming straight back.
Oh, like a sailboat tacks and
exactly. Tacking. But that's not going to be as efficient as it would be on the way out, because on the way out you can get a full sail full of sunlight. Tacking, you're never going to get a full sail. But the nice thing is, any speed you pick up, there's no friction to stop you. So every tack, you're picking up a little bit of extra velocity.
Right.
And then more. So you keep on increasing. So it's not that bad of a solution, but it would take it would take longer. Now, I don't know. I think with a sail, you might be able to get to Mars in less than 9 months. And then coming back, though, would probably take, closer to 9 months.
Is Mars the furthest one out?
No.
Wow. Can you imagine going to the furthest one out, how long would take?
That's Pluto. And
Pluto's not a planet. It's a dwarf planet.
Right. But it's the furthest thing in our solar system,
well,
right?
It isn't. No,
I did get that question right in grade 8 then.
There's more things beyond Pluto. You've got Sedna, which is another dwarf planet. And there's all kinds of other dwarf planets. I'm not familiar with all of their names out inside of the Kuiper Belt.
Wow.
It's space.
Okay, you're above our pay grade now. You're above our pay grade.
Well, I find this conversation fascinating because I'm thinking to myself, he'll figure out how to do it because I'm thinking he wants to go there in his lifetime.
Who, Tim?
Elon Musk.
Oh, okay.
No, Tim's not going there.
Yeah, now.
I know you like road trips, but that one's a little far.
No. Well, it's like jumping out of a perfectly good plane with a backpack on your thing.
I kind of wonder, and I have never explored any of this, but it's going to make me go down and look a little bit. Like when you go to sleep at night, because you're in space, you're in zero gravity. Do they get into a bed? Like, can you get into a bed? Is the bed floating? Does it hold you in? Like, how do you sleep?
I imagine you're going to strap yourself in. Because you can't just leave yourself floating around.
And I can't even picture that, how much I flop around at night.
Oh, it would be a nightmare for the freaking Oracle.
Do you flop? Well, Candace, do you just sleep in one position all night? Like, how do you strap yourself in?
I do sleep.
Strap herself in right now. She's on Earth, for God's sake.
But if you were just strapping yourself in, like you'd feel that how the heck
I don't need to strap myself in. I picked up some weight over the pandemic. That holds me in place very well.
Well, no, but when you sleep at night, when you go to sleep at night, do you fall asleep in one position and wake up in the exact same position, or do you wake? I find myself.
Yes, because you're strapped in.
I have in my situation. I have two positions. I sleep on my stomach, and I face the wall. And once the cat wakes me up, I then change my position to face the lamp, and then I sleep for another 5-10 minutes until the cat comes back for the snooze part to say, "Hey, I woke you up. It's time to feed me."
Right. This is.
But I'm a deep sleeper.
Yeah, me too. I'm a very deep sleeper, but I do not think I stay in one position. In fact, I know I don't because I always start on my side. I always wake up on my back, so I don't even know how that happens.
Well,
why do
Tim turns you over? It's just she's too hot.
Tim doesn't sleep well, so every noise thing, a marching band can go through the room, and I will sleep through it all. A little tiny laser beam light from his phone, and I'm like, "What's going on? What's happening?"
Yeah. Now, David Lowe says that there is a Mars coin, Mars Network, Project Mars listed on Coin Market Cap. I would do your due diligence looking at these because I don't think that the Mars coin that Elon is making is that one, but because my understanding is it hasn't come out yet. But I could be wrong. If it is out already, then it's further ahead than we thought.
Is he still big on Doge?
I don't think anyone's big on Doge anymore.
Okay, so is he? So he's not big on any meme coins, is he, Elon?
No, I think he's been sort of staying away from trying to even talk about coins at all.
Well, yeah, and the reason I say that is because I'm just thinking that if he was still hot on a coin and he's talking about Mars, that coin that he's still hot on that's currently in circulation, if you will, would probably be tied to his Mars coin at some point in time. So I'm thinking down the road, would that coin be something I'd put a couple of hundred into and just let sit? Because when he gets the Mars coin going, and if he uses this for, getting it going.
Well, I'll
I mean?
tell you, if this Mars coin is his coin, I would certainly buy some. But I just found out that this Pi phone was happening today, so I really haven't had a chance to go too far down the rabbit hole. But there's going to be money to be made for sure.
Could you imagine being Elon Musk's friend? Like, what do you sit around and talk about at dinner parties with him?
Whatever Elon wants. I think in the case of Elon, I think his mind is probably very one-tracked, and that you can try to talk to him about something else, but I think whatever interests him, he's gonna probably give you some answers and slowly curve the conversation back to where he wants it to be.
Or do you think he's like all the other kind of science geeks? Like, I think about, we love Big Bang Theory. We've watched every episode so many times. We just love it. But do you think he's just like Sheldon and can't carry on a conversation that doesn't revolve around his own thoughts? Like, he's just...
Well, I think in that case, you're looking at the autism part. So in his case, he has Asperger's syndrome, which is part of ASD level 1.
Yep.
Because they sort of merged a few things into the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
And I think what's going on in his situation is that he will have areas of intense interest, which would be called like a special interest. And those would be things that he would focus on and be insanely good at them. So I think he probably has a harder time sort of maintaining a lot of the normal social stuff. So he'll tend to almost come off as being egotistical, though he's probably not. He's just not able to express a lot.
It's his social.
And guiding things in. Like Dan Aykroyd is also in the same boat.
Is he really?
That's where his special interest was ghosts, which is where Ghostbusters came from.
He was. He's got a very interesting story because he grew up in Kingston, and his parents, if you hear about what his parents did, you can totally see how he's carrying on the family tradition. Very interesting backstory on him.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is the backstory on him?
We're not talking about him right now.
Yeah.
No, but now you've got me. Now you've picked my curiosity.
Honey, that's for later. That's for later.
You don't really know what
his parents are, if you will, historians. Very, very highly educated people, but they believed in the extra.
Yeah. Like if you look at his character in Ghostbusters, his character had owned an occult store. That's straight out of his childhood.
Yeah.
And his parents, they were very much into that.
And he has a lot of that tied into his vodka, with the skulls and with how the vodka is, it's vodka, right?
Yeah.
How the vodka is made is very, very related to that whole genre, right?
Yeah.
I never knew that story about him.
Very intelligent.
So you're saying is Dan Aykroyd also got Asperger's or autistic?
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd has Asperger's now, ASD level 1. Yeah, and it's the same thing. Like Sheldon Cooper, the writer of The Big Bang Theory, modeled Sheldon Cooper off of I think it was his uncle or something who had Asperger's. So that's kind of where a lot of the traits of Sheldon Cooper came from.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that show. We didn't see it when it was live on TV. We caught it. I think I started watching it when I was traveling so much for work. They have it on. I tend to fly WestJet. I know all of you love the Air Canada stocks. I hate them. I will never, ever, ever, ever fly Air Canada. They piss me off.
But here's the thing, though. You don't have to like a stock to make money off of it.
I know, but it's principle. It's the principle of the matter. It's the principle of, and one of my very dear friends works there. Several of my friends have worked for Air Canada. And I tried to express my opinion several times. But anyways,
Yeah, but
we're
they
down a
came up
rabbit
through
hole.
Ward Air Canadian.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, Ken asked if I know what OS it'll be running. I do not know. The Plea phone sounds good if you can afford one. The question is about what us low-income people.
Yeah, it eventually will be affordable for everybody down the line, I think. It just, when technology comes out new. But,
that's the thing. And also, sometimes as well, if a company wants widespread adoption, sometimes they will lower the price just to get it into more hands initially. So,
and then it's always the monthly fees. It's always the monthly fees that get you.
Yeah, but you never know. I mean, maybe Elon's going to be the guy that is just he's striving for the information of human behavior. And he just makes enough that it's got to charge something for it, but he wants to collect all the data on the human behavior that all these cell phones are producing.
I would vote on Elon, David. What about you guys? Elon or Bezos or Saylor for the first trillionaire?
I might put my money on Saylor. Or who? Saylor or who?
Bezos or Elon.
And I can't see Bezos doing it.
Why not?
I think he's gonna run into snags with supply chain, and I think that's going to hold him back. I think that's going to stunt his growth potentially a little bit in the initial run when other things that naturally are going to occur, like Bitcoin and Saylor, or Elon. But Elon's got to get products on the shelf and out there.
Well, he does, absolutely. But he has just so many different huge innovations on the horizon that all it takes is for those to work out, and he's there. So
right, but a good argument to that is all it takes in Saylor's case is for Bitcoin to go, and away he goes as well. Right.
Absolutely. Okay, and so there's Ken giving some help to Kevin. Leonard Nimoy divorced Kelly. That was from our Star Trek thing quite a while ago. Yeah, so Nicole is still living according to Kevin. All right. So Tom hit the big stages, 3 years, and crashed into an asteroid. Well, and that's interesting. We did just send a satellite up to crash into an asteroid.
Yeah,
whatever happened? Did it work?
We won't know because we have to recalculate the trajectory of the asteroid. So we need enough data points to do that. Because right now we just don't have the data points. So when you first see an asteroid, you have no clue where it's going. So what you have to do is get enough points that you can actually then extrapolate the actual full orbit of that asteroid to know where it's going. So they know that from before the hit. Now they've run a satellite into it. And what they want to do now is, once they have enough data points, recalculate it and see if it's changed. If it has changed, then we can use that as a way to change a satellite's orbit that potentially is getting too close to Earth or heading right at Earth, because then we could just hit it. So it's basically a defense. The dinosaurs, they weren't smart enough to do this, and we know what happened to them.
So they're worried that the reason they did what they did was because they're worried that an asteroid was going to hit Earth.
Well, eventually one will. I mean, there's a lot of rocks up there, but let's have a solution before we find out, because you don't want to be testing things like this when NASA finally identifies one and says, oh yeah, guys, we got 3 years. So you want to be testing these things now when there is no danger. So that when there is a danger, we have a solution. We know what to do. We just do it. Life goes on. Okay. And now we got, I don't think Rye likes the original Star Trek. Actually, he has said that he's not a huge fan of the original. He's very much into the next generation.
He wouldn't even have been born when the original came out. So the technology of it, the TV, like, it's hokey. If you watch it now, it is some of the things, like that one episode with all the little weebles, that they're just little fluff. They're probably, I don't even know. Like, it's just so funny to watch it now. And when they're exploring other planets and stuff, like, it's fake rocks. You could totally see it. So I can understand why that didn't turn his crank.
Okay, perfect. We're getting slowly caught up on some of these comments here, and then we'll get into diversification. Like, our little intro topic has taken us pretty deep into the chat already.
That's okay.
All right. So what's the latest on Space Hotel idea? I don't know. I know there's a lot of different things. Right now, the biggest thing that's happening is Russia's putting up their own space station, which could be interesting. There's also a lot of stuff going on too. Russia recently took a satellite up to basically test it. It's a satellite destroying satellite.
Are they doing that because they don't want to share? Like, they don't want they don't want to use an international space station? Is that?
There's a lot of politics behind it. So that's one of the reasons that they want to do it. I think they just want full control of it more than anything else. But the thing that the satellite that they tested, the reason they're doing that is that if there ever was a war, they can then go up and basically use this new weapon system to start taking out satellites, which then blinds the other side.
Oh man!
I know, everybody's so good at war.
Invest your money. Another thing to worry about.
Yeah, well, exactly. All right, everybody's talking about sleeping. Wow, we're really far behind in these comments. So Dan Aykroyd still own a bar and grill on Princess Street in Kingston called AJ's. I've never been to AJ's. I love Skullhead vodka. Rule number 1, no emotional trading. Absolutely.
I think he was talking about my comments on Air Canada. Listen. I also believe if you don't believe in a company and what they stand for, then you shouldn't invest in them either. Like, we hold everything with RBC. Our bank account is RBC. Our investments are with RBC. We use a lot of our mortgages are with RBC. So we would be kind of stupid to not own RBC stock. We have everything. We use their services. We should have some RBC stock. But if you don't like a company and the service that they provide, then I'm not sure. That's not for me. Everybody else has their own theory. They can go ahead. Anyways, that's a whole other topic for another day.
I do that with my longer term investments. So the longer term investments, they're companies I do believe in, because there's always a choice. Like, that's the best thing about diversification, is that you can pick and choose within each sector to find your perfect balance, which is kind of good.
And Candace, it's probably a safe investment because let's just face it, the government is not going to let Air Canada fail. It's the Canadian, it's the official Canadian airline. So they're never going to let them fail.
Same as Bombardier.
But you see, here's the thing.
Like Bombardier, exactly.
But Air Canada is not a long-term investment for me.
Right.
Because Air Canada, where they're at right now, their stock is going to almost double by the time they fully recovered. And then I sell them and move that all into dividend stocks because I love my dividends.
Right.
So that's kind of what I see Air Canada as. It's a way to make some money, to fund the stocks that I believe in.
Yeah. And David Love, RBC and the banks are a great segue into diversification. So true.
Working behind the scenes, David. Working behind the scenes.
Absolutely. So diversification, I wanted to sort of hit this from a couple of angles. Now, I know some people in our community are almost 100% crypto. So I thought we'd just start with crypto first and diversification within crypto itself.
Okay.
So I think what a lot of people, and I've been guilty of this too, and this is where I've been sort of thinking about changing my mindset a little bit. I've always, the last bear market, I moved everything into Bitcoin and just sat it at Bitcoin because Bitcoin was my horse. But here's the truth. The truth is, let's say something absolutely horrid happened to Bitcoin. Some black swan event that nobody could predict, and Bitcoin went away. Well, I would have lost everything at that point.
Right.
So that's not a good diversification. So going forward, I think what I'm looking at, and even going into this next bear market, is I'm looking at trying to spread that across multiple coins that I think are sort of very stable. Stable coins are there as well, but I'm thinking coins that have a good proof of use mechanisms behind them. So, for example, we've got Bitcoin, we've got Ethereum, we've got Polkadot, we've got Cardano. I think Ripple, once they get out of the legal stuff, can join that. But while they're in the legal stuff, I don't consider them to be the one to be stalking on until, especially when you're thinking about just protecting yourself in a bear market. So those are the big four. You could probably add Solano. And there's some other interesting coins too, but those are the big ones. And that's kind of what I'm sort of thinking when I visualize actual diversification just within the crypto world itself. Now, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I feel like we're really diversified in our thoughts on, we've got some, again, you have to understand, we were advised early on by Tim Perry, who's been doing this for a while. So we have some Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that sits in our BlockFi, which I feel like I feel quite safe there. At this point, crypto would have to practically would have to go back down. Bitcoin would have to go back down to below 8,000 for us to not be in profit.
Absolutely.
So, and I think we talked about this with you offline, Candace. Like, I'm so concerned now about a taxable event happening that I'm better off to just sit and let it ride at this point in time. Not sure what we'll do about Ethereum, but right now those sit and they earn us interest every month using BlockFi. Maybe we'll switch where that goes. We were looking at Ledin and Celsius. There's a bunch we can move that around, but those holdings will stay. Then we've got, we're quite diversified. We do have XRP, and that is a very large holding for us. I feel like they're going to make a decision soon with that. SEC is going to make a ruling. They have to, because right now they're trapped. I think they'll want to go after a few other cryptocurrencies, but they can't do anything until they've made a decision. The SEC's made a decision about XRP.
See, my only concern is that if the SEC knows they're going to lose, they don't want to let that happen because of the precedent it would create. It would make it harder for them to go after other coins. So I could see them trying to just drag it out as long as they possibly can until
or settle.
They could settle. That would be another option. But at the same time, if they settle, it sends the wrong message.
Either way, I think that this whatever's going to happen is going to happen shortly. I don't think it's going to drag on. It's been dragging on for a long time now.
But here's let me just throw one perspective at you. The way you think right now about XRP, I thought the exact same thing at the beginning of the summer. I was sure that would all be resolved by September.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't. It's just been dragging on and on.
Right.
Doesn't XRP have some legs in the fact that they can say to the SEC, look, you're starting to hurt a business and to hurt, the well-being of this product. You need to get off. I mean, isn't there something in there that they can pull that card and say, you know what, you're starting to damage the reputation here without any proof or any ruling to suggest otherwise. So you need to make a decision.
The only problem is because they're crypto, it creates a lot of gray. So it's not as cut and dry as it would be as if they were just a traditional standard business. But
doesn't that contradict the SEC because they've already approved ETFs? And they've acknowledged crypto and said, okay, you can create an ETF around crypto. Doesn't that contradict just what they're trying to push against as an argument to XRP?
It does, but it's still all gray. That's the whole issue.
I understand. But they've already.
I think
But you could
once
argue
they,
the fact that they've set precedents by issuing ETFs.
but at the same time, they can argue that they're actually providing ETFs on futures and not on Bitcoin itself. So there's a lot of gray in that area. If they had approved a spot ETF, I think then you'd be absolutely 100% right. They would have no legs to stand on when it comes to that, and that might even be one of the reasons why they're dragging their butts on approving a spot ETF as well. And that's hurting, of course, the price and everything else, which is not good.
Right.
Or maybe they're building a case on someone bigger, and they're going to let XRP go, and they're going to go after someone else bigger. Or, I hear being thrown around that the SEC's next target is Vitalik, ETH is their next target.
What's his name?
Oh dear.
No, but we do have so we do have some XRP. We have a large position in XRP actually. And so it would be, I would say, Bitcoin, then Ethereum, then our XRP. Then we've got a bunch of, we have OMI for sure. I'm still excited about that. So we have a little bit of the NFT space. We've got one meme. We got a couple of memes now. We got Kitty Inu. And Satama. We listened
Dot
to
based on
Ken.
your recommendation, and you staked it. You're staking it where?
Staking which my
Dot.
Polkadot?
Your dot,
My dot? Yeah, I'm staking that currently on Kraken.
Kraken, which is what I followed your advice, and that's where I am staking it as well. So we've diversified into some of the other coins and stuff like that. I've never hidden the fact or denied the fact that for us at our age and for being in this crypto space, the meme coins are serving a purpose to buy more Bitcoin.
Right. And that makes sense.
The other thing is we got, come on, Ken did really well with that Shiba Inu. And I have to admit, when he talked about it on Crypto Night in Canada back in March, we laughed at him. I was laughing. We were all laughing at his meme coins. And who's laughing all the way to the bank? Him. So why would I not go, okay, there's something to these meme coins. I don't understand it. And but there is community around it. And so I'm thinking, I love projects that may have real world use case. For me, some of the things that we've talked about have real world use case. And so those are the projects I'm interested in.
Well, we do own VChain and Xcur.
Yes, we do own those. And so
not a lot, but we do.
Probably we'll get back into Theta at some point too, because I do like that project.
I don't know.
Anyways, the long and short of it, I know that you've had a comment here by Phil B. He says, what's a good website to learn more about crypto? And he would like to explore that path, but everyone gives out different recommendations, which makes it confusing. Yes, it is very confusing,
It is
Phil,
confusing.
But you just have to stick with it long enough and hear the rationale behind why people are doing certain things. And there's so many good projects out there. It's like there's so many good stocks. You have to actually feel good about what you're investing in. So I don't know how Candace will probably tell you some very smart thing. But we just follow a lot of YouTubers. And once we hear things over and over and over again, and I write it down in my purple book of ideas, and then we think about it for a bit, and then we make a purchase decision.
Phil,
yeah,
you bring up.
I was going to say the best advice is ask questions. Even in our Facebook group, go in there, ask as many questions as you want. I will answer every single one.
Yeah.
And Phil, the second part of Phil's comment there, but everyone gives out different recommendations, which makes it confusing. So Phil, if you're referring to, even us or Candace or Tim Perry or anyone else, and you're also including that the YouTube influencers, you have to take all kinds of information from every aspect that you can gather from, because the influencers are influencers for a reason. They're terrific salespeople. and they can sell you down the path on a coin, because don't kid yourself, they got some skin in the game on those coins. I don't profit from a coin by recommending it or saying, maybe you should take a look at it. Candace doesn't. We don't work that way, and we're not experts. So this is not financial advice. However, you are correct that there are so many recommendations out there. You just don't drink the Kool-Aid on one particular person because they're such a great salesperson. And you got to sniff the salespeople out who are pumping for their own righteousness, and not drink the Kool-Aid on them, because you're going to go down in flames.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say as well, what are their motivations for the person who's giving you that information? So when you come in to, let's say you go into the financial brew and you ask a question, and I'm going to give you some straight up answers, because my motivation is that you do well. Because when you do well and one of your friends or something wants to get into crypto or something, then you'll be like, oh my God, you know what? Over at the financial brew, they gave me all this great information. And then all of a sudden I get a new subscriber because of that. So that's my motivation. I also, because I'm from Nova Scotia, I just like to help people. It's part of the Nova Scotian blood at the same time. So,
but what you do, Candace, and folks on the channel here listening tonight, and we have to understand something about Candace, is that Candace she's out to educate people. She's not out to persuade people. She's out to educate. Big difference. And she, we've had dealings off camera and on different things with Candace and stuff like that. And we talk off air about, the sun, the moon, the stars. But one thing she does is she freaking does her homework on stuff. So when you're asking a question on the financial brew here, which, by the way, if you haven't liked and subscribed, you should, shame. She has done her due diligence to the point of education only, not to persuade you.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I know I get it a lot where people are like, oh, just do a top 3 coins that I should buy. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do a top 3 coins you can buy. What I will do is I might do like a top 10 metaverse and just explain what the utility is. So that way there you have something to jump off of. You have something to look at. Now, if you came to me with a coin that has absolutely no utility, I will give you the downside. I'll also give you the upside. So if it's a meta coin, if it's a meme coin, there might be some fast money that you can make, but that's where you have to sort of decide if you're willing to take that risk. When it comes to diversification, I will keep a certain percentage of my crypto in coins that I'm not going to throw them on meme coins, for example. It may limit how much I can make, but it also limits how much I can lose. And to me, that's important because I don't want to lose the bank.
No, and I think if you're going to do the meme coins, then best advice I could give you is be attached in with a community of people that are talking about these coins on a regular basis, so that you know when to get yourself out of these things. Like we're always asking Ken all the time, what's happening with Satama? What's happening with Satama? What's happening with Satama? Because that's not a project we're really paying attention to, but he's paying close attention to it. He's watching everything. And again, it's not a financial advice, it's his opinion, but I tend to people who are watching a lot of videos over and over and over and over and over again. Like Tim and I watch so much YouTube every morning. We get up around 5:30, and between 5:30 and 8 when we go to work, we have that YouTube going on. We are watching YouTube University. We are pouring so much financial stuff into our pores that now we could we're not experts for sure, but we are much more educated.
We're educated investors.
That's it. We're educated investors, and we're watching different things with different opinions so that we can make an informed opinion. Like we don't just watch one and go, oh, there's my opinion. We watch this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy all talk about the same kind of thing. So then we can kind of go, wow, what do we think about that? Right?
Yeah. Another thing too is if everybody's telling you to sell a coin when it hits $2, sell it at $1.95.
Right.
because everybody's going to be trying to sell it at $2, and you might end up being left with the bag. So
100%. Sorry.
there's a lot of, there's just a lot of little things to do. I mean, doing your due diligence is perfect. Like when I first started getting into crypto, for example, I'd maybe watch a YouTube video. I would write down everything I didn't understand in the video. Then I would go and research everything I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I could then come back and rewatch that video and understand it fully.
Right. Well,
That's
and
just a
everybody
way
thinks it's funny because I have my purple book. And I don't have my book. It's over in the shed, in the garden shed where I work. But that purple book, I had that. It's almost full after 1 year. Full of this idea, that idea. What is this? What is that? And to your point, Candace, I do exactly the same thing. I'm like, then I'm Googling. Half the time in the middle of our shows, what am I doing? I've got my iPad and I'm Googling what the heck people are talking about. Sometimes in our own shows, I don't know what people are talking about. I'm like, I have no idea what they're saying.
Well, so, there's nothing wrong with not knowing something, because the more you learn about crypto, the more there is to learn.
Right.
It's one of those fields that way. Now, speaking of your purple book, if anybody is interested in her purple book, or she's got a few other books to help track your just your coins, your stocks, and all that, that's all down below in the extra information. So you'll find a section on the Danter's books. So those are just fantastic gifts.
Thank you, Candace. I mean, those things are, again, that's one of the side hustles that I learned how to do when we were watching all those YouTube videos. So I think Kevin had asked about side hustles and various things. Some of the side hustles that we were doing was crafting. And so I was buying things from the dollar store and turning them into things that were unusual and selling them on Facebook Marketplace. But one of the things I learned how to do is make low content books, KDP. They're called KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, low content books. If you've got a little bit of a ingenuity and some time, and you can go into Canva, which has a free component to it, you can create low content books. And so this book that Candace is talking about, called The Candlestick Confidential, was created to have a way to write down information. So what are you watching? What coins or stocks are you watching? Who is this a referral from? So because you hear all these coins, I want to actually remember, well, who told me about that? So if I say polka dot, Candace, then I'll know, okay, Candace was the one that was talking about. So I write it all down. So this little book is really a notebook, just kind of guided into monthly segments. And at the very end, at the very back of the book, I put QR codes into the High Ride channel, our channel, Candace's channel, the Canadian Bitcoiners, Hawes, Hodls, and Nate Palmatier. Poor Ken didn't have his channel going then, so I didn't able to fix the book up for him. But the point of it is if you decide that you're looking for a Christmas gift, these are actually printed on demand, so I don't have a huge inventory sitting around. You would go into the link in Candace's video below, and if you want to buy one, you just go in and you can have it shipped directly to people's homes, and you're not just giving them a notebook, you're actually giving them the community. That's how I look at it anyways. You're giving them the learning community of the people that we learned from.
And since you mentioned these books, here's a little idea if somebody's looking for a side hustle. What's about to happen in January? Brand new year. So you could easily take, let's say you take photography, if you have a really nice picture that would make a great cover of of like a calendar book.
Yeah.
You could certainly put that together in Canva. There's templates in Canva that would do all the months for you. And you could just make basically a planner, like a yearly planner. And then you could put it onto Amazon and you could sell it. If somebody comes along and they like your picture, like let's say you have really good pictures, like if you're taking pictures of your cat, I would buy that. That could be a way to make a little bit of money on the side. So side hustles, they are totally worth it.
Yeah. And so you can do all kinds of things, and YouTube will show you videos on all kinds of different ideas. So you can do that one, as Candace said. You can also do low content coloring books. You could do you name it, and there's a YouTube video out there that will show you how to do it. You don't have to think up it all on your own. You just start going down one rabbit hole, and it will lead to another, which will lead to another, which will lead to another.
Yeah.
And the hard part is getting your book out there, because there's so many books. You can't even really find me anymore on Amazon, because there's just so many. You could type in my name or Tim and Nancy Danter. I think I put the new one under both of our names, Tim and Nancy Danter, in Amazon, but you might still never find us. That's why you have to use a link. So if you're going to go to the effort to learn how to do these things, you also should go to the effort to learn how to promote things on Facebook Marketplace, on
just social media in general.
Social media in general. You got to get good at that stuff.
It doesn't do it by itself.
Yeah, and that's one of those other things. If you got a question about social media, drop it in our Facebook group, because I know a lot about social media. I wrote a book. I had to market it years ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know an insane amount.
Yeah.
And my book, I do not have an affiliate link for my book down there, because in case somebody's asking, because it's not a financial book, and I'm trying to.
What kind of book is it?
A supernatural thriller.
So it's like a book you wrote.
Yeah, it's a novel.
Oh my gosh, Candace, you know what? I wrote a novel too.
Oh, shall I
Did
leave
you?
the room and you can have a chat?
Yes, I did, but I haven't actually Here's my
Hey,
problem.
freaking Oracle, what are you doing right now?
Stop it.
Okay.
I haven't published it, but it's done. It's about 420 pages, and it's a fictional novel. It's an adventure story.
Okay.
And it's really fun, and it's about people who it started in Canada, but they go on a road trip journey all down through the US, and it was all places that actually existed that they went to, and they met a cast of characters along the way, and anyways, it's a really neat book, and I've let a few friends read it, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
After hour talk.
Anyways.
Yeah. Ask me in the after show. But in my book, I destroyed most of Florida.
Oh, geez. No, that's what happened.
Don't destroy Florida. I love Florida.
No wonder they got their head in the sand.
I know. So Kevin, you mentioned as well, being impatient. That can definitely be the worst thing to have as an investor.
Yeah.
So you've got to be patient. Even when you're doing swing trades, you sometimes have to be patient, because you may get in there and that trade's not going the right way for you right away. And you have to be able to judge, okay, well, is this going to recover? Don't give in to fear, because I've seen so many people that get so afraid that they're about to lose their money, they then take a loss, and next thing you know, that stock goes right up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or that coin goes right up. So you want to learn patience if you can.
Yeah, agreed.
And sometimes if you don't have patience, what I will often recommend is sort of decide where, before you even buy it, decide where you want to sell it. Write it down. Write down your strategy. Okay, I'm going to sell it at this point. And that way there you can then, that will give you the opportunity to take chips off the table at the right time. Because a lot of times, if you're thinking, I'm going to buy it at $2, I'm going to sell it at $2.50. Well, when it hits $2.50, a lot of times you're like, oh God, what if it goes to $3? And you wait, and then it goes down. And next thing you know, you might only be selling it at $2.20. You may still make a profit, but you may have lost a big chunk of your profit because you didn't take any chips off the table.
Right.
So always wise to have a certain level of patience and to have a strategy. Don't just sort of go in and just sort of use the force as you're doing your investing.
Well, I think for the first for people who are just new to this or getting green to it, I think one of the most important things that to discipline yourself to do is to not get greedy and wait for the top, not buy when it's at the top, but to always try, as it's on a potential rise, to get at least your initial investment out. and
Yeah.
then let the other stuff be gravy for you.
Yeah, and even then, you can even come up with a plan. Like if you once you've gotten your initial investment out, even if it goes up another dollar at that point, you could always take like 25% of your profits and then let the rest ride if you really want to. And then it's basically it's dollar cost averaging on your way out as it's going up.
Yeah.
Because
And I
you
like
know.
what like what David Love says. The market is a means to transfer wealth from the impatient to the patient.
Warren Buffett.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And Jason loves Nova Scotia. All right, we're slowly getting caught up on our chat questions again. I need to be educated on when to sell. And that's going to come with some experience, Kevin. And I think as well, you've got your fingers into the 3 communities. So between the Danters, myself, and Ryan, and of course Ken too. He's our unofficial 4th community.
You guys cracked us up last night. We popped in to watch you guys for just a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And Ken was trying to rescue the cat, which sounded like it was in the couch.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't have a
That
clue
was funny.
what was going on. I said to Tim, let's flick on quickly and see what they're up to. And then I see the cat and the couch, and I think his wife Natasha was there. It sounded like were the girls there. I was like brushing my teeth. I'm like, what is going
Harmony
on?
was around the corner at someone's house. I know that much.
Harmony was on the corner?
Around the corner at someone's house.
Oh, so he didn't have the kids there, just the cat.
Well, he's got more than one child. Maybe the kid was the other thing stuck in the couch. I don't know. You never know.
And then at one point, Jason Spooner was on there, which was fun to see him.
Yeah, it was actually really good to see Jason because you see a name all the time, and so it's nice when they do show up. So
is Jason going to join the networking on Wednesday night? Because it'll be fun to meet him.
I hope so. I hope everybody shows up.
I thought he leaves on Friday. Oh.
Yep. It's Wednesday.
Yeah, I knew that. I had to do the math.
All right. So I have a side hustle when I have access to a truck. I collect scrap metals, separate them, and sell them to a scrapyard for cash.
Good. That's actually
not
pretty cool.
Bad, actually.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And there's some good money in selling metal.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of construction sites now will actually have to put security people on it at night because otherwise the people who want to sell the copper will come in and pull out all the wires.
Yeah.
So that's never a good thing. First hit off Google and easy off AZ. Well done.
Oh, must have been talking about my book.
Oh, maybe, yeah. It's a good book. Tim, the Oracle has your back. And I think we're caught up again here.
Yep.
And there's the David Lowe that you guys had mentioned. And then I sold 32 million sheep for 1,500. 3 days later, it was worth 3,000, but I'm okay with it. And you have to be okay with it. One of the best mindsets when it comes to investing is don't worry about that. Oh, if only I had done this, or I could have done this. Once you've done something, you've done it. Just own it.
Yeah.
Move on to your next trade.
Well, there is an option to that, Candace. The other option is I got too greedy and I lost it all.
Well, that's true. But even then, you don't want to beat yourself up about it.
No.
Learn your lesson.
And invest only what you can lose to
Exactly. But that's where taking your profits is good, because then if something does happen, I'm not sure what that was, but
he says, are you having trouble with your earbud? I'm thinking.
I
thought you were
holding the microphone with my other hand. That's why it kind of looks like it's like, what is he doing?
I thought you were picking your ear.
Well, that's what it looked like. From
I was
here.
like, what's he doing? And then I'm thinking, I couldn't see the cord because your sweater's blue.
Well, then it came out and we started doing that. And I'm like, is that like a big ball of wax?
That's it. That's what I thought. I didn't know what the heck was happening, Candace. And I'm sitting beside him. I'm like,
I know.
Anyways, well, I guess we have one more topic.
Well, we just need to quickly finish off diversification.
Right.
Oh.
We didn't hit the stock side. So when it comes to diversification, your crypto into your stocks, it's really good to have like a healthy balance. And when I say a healthy balance, like your crypto, if you're a big time stock trader, you probably don't want that much crypto. You want maybe 10%, 10, 15%. And I'm up high right now. I'm thinking I'm sitting at about 20% right now. But that's just kind of where crypto is a new asset class. It makes sense to stick with the staid and true at the moment. Now, I don't know how much you guys have on the stock side.
We're probably 2/3 stock, 1/3 crypto.
Yeah, and you see, that's healthy. But here's the thing too: when you need to rebalance, and this is something I've seen people struggle with. If their crypto gets way too high, they're like, oh well, if I need to rebalance, I'll just sell this and buy some stocks. I usually won't do that because where crypto is super volatile, if Bitcoin goes all of a sudden on a huge price explosion, you're going to be out of balance. So how I deal with that is that I look at where I'm at, and if my crypto was really high, then I just start. If I got $200 to invest, I put it in the stocks that time instead of putting it into crypto, and then that brings my balance back together. And also keep in mind too, because of the volatility, the price is going up and down, so you may be out of balance one day, and the next day you may be perfectly fine again. So it's one of the things to keep into consideration when you're looking at diversification across the two zones, the two investment types. Okay. Now, do we want to have some fun?
Yes.
All right. Let's give me a second here. I'm going to pull this up for you guys. Okay.
Kevin, Hannah, you're doing great.
All right. Welcome to Bitcoin, folks. So we're going to talk a little bit about technical analysis and what it comes and where I sort of come up with a lot of the things that are happening when it comes to Bitcoin. So one of the things you'll notice, I'm using Yahoo Finance for this, and the reason I'm doing it is because of the white. It makes it really easy to draw and make nice looking charts. Normally, if I'm just doing it for myself, I do it on I usually do it on Kraken, to be honest. I like their charts, but they just don't have the best colors when it comes to technical analysis. So one of the things you'll notice up here on the top is we have a time interval. So these time intervals are really important. The lower the interval, so 1 minute, so this is what a 1 minute chart looks like. You don't really see much here. Actually, you don't see anything here. Let's try something a little bit better. Let's go with like 15 minutes. Here we go. So here's a 15 minute. The smaller the interval, the less reliable the TA is going to be. So when you look at something like this, you can see we've been moving sideways now, but that's really just not that long of a time. It's kind of one of those things when you're dealing with 15 minutes, you just don't get very accurate information. So the higher the time frame, so if, for example, we go up to one of my favorites is this is the 1 day time frame right here. So this is the 1 day time frame. This little line I have right in here, this here is my 27-day moving average. So it's a pretty important line because it will usually act as resistance. And if you take a look here, when we had our dump last night, you notice how it came down and it pretty closely hit our resistance here on the 27 moving average, and then this came back up, and now it's sort of struggling a bit now too. But keep in mind, this here is the daily, so it was green for a bit. Now it's red at the moment, but it just comes down to, if you look at it at a shorter time frame, let's just go to 4 hours for a moment. You can sort of see there's a little bit of green in it since it came down. So it's kind of moving along.
So when it's just so, in case there's new people watching, when it's red, it means it closed to the downside, and if it's green, it closed to the upside.
Right. Now, let's give me a second here. Let's just come in nice and close to these two candles here. So when you see a candle like this, so if it's green, it means that it closed higher than it started. in that time frame. So this time frame right now is 1 full day. In the course of that day, if you see that little wick at the bottom, that little wick means that at one point the price was lower than where it opened. So at one point it went down, then it went back up, and it made it all the way up to the top of the wick, and then it closed where the solid line stops. So the wicks just basically show you how Bitcoin moved outside the lines of that candle. So in this case here, like if you look at the one next to it, this green one here, in this case here, it started right here. It pumped all the way up to here, but before the day closed, it then fell back down to here.
How come some of the candles are longer than others?
Because of the amount of volume that went in, the amount of price change.
The amount of activity.
If you see on the side, we have the prices. So in this case here, like this candle, I'm just going to come over here because I can move it. So this candle started the day at 53.7. It then fell down to 53.6. It made it all the way back up to 54.7, and then it fell down to 54.3.
I just don't. What I'm not clear about, Candace, is why would there be a wick on it and not just a full bar?
Because
it didn't
stay up there. It closed.
It didn't stay up there to accumulate enough information and data. It was a very, very quick spike up and down.
Now, if you look at this red one here, you notice how there's no wicks?
There's more movement in the solid color. There's a lot more movement and price
in one
action
direction.
In the solid color, whereas these little wicks are literally like one or two shots of spikes out there that aren't even. It's measured, but it's not measured enough to capture a full color, well, you know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah, it's just it comes down to where, like, if you look at this red one that doesn't have wicks.
Yeah.
This one is very simple. It's at 57. So at 57K, that's when we hit that day. By the end of that day, we went from 57 down to 53. So it was just a bad day. Well, that was, everybody knows what day that was. It was like, what was that, Monday? Or 2 days ago? Whenever we had our big little crash thing there. I think it was 2 days ago now.
Yeah.
But that was, well, let me just take a look. That was the 26th, because you got the date on the bottom. And these little lines down here at the bottom, these show the actual volume. So you can see that this red indicates that there was a lot of selling pressure during that moment. So that was when people were selling like crazy. Hence, right above it, you've got a nice big drop in price.
So is the red selling, green buying?
That's right.
On the bottom.
Yep.
Okay.
So here people then bought the dip,
Mm-hmm.
and we had price action, but it wasn't a big buy, because if it was a bigger buy, this green would have been much higher. So some people bought the dip. I think there were still, think of it this way, a lot of people were still freaked out that they weren't buying the dip. The smarter people were buying the dip. You know, and that's been the price action that we've had here. But now, here's the interesting thing about it, is I'm gonna put a few things here on this chart. Let's go back to the 1 hour, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna build, 1 hour, 1 day. We are going to build my channel. I'm going to show you how that happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw. And I'm going to first of all just draw a couple little things just to show you guys something. So every time we come in and we hit something like this right here, just draw a little circle here around it. It's not in the perfect spot. But where we come up and we then go back down, that's because you've hit something that's caused resistance. Because the price hit a resistance, it changes direction, it goes down. And you'll notice the same thing here.
What would that be, Candace?
That's just buying pressure. I mean, all of this is based on human psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So take it when you hit an all-time high, that resistance that happens is all of the people who are like so greedy, and they're like, I'm just selling all this because I just made a crap load of money. So they all sell. So almost every time you hit an all-time high, it's going to usually fall at least a little bit. And then it might go back up, or we might run into some situations like we have now. But when you start looking at it, you can start drawing these little circles here on just areas that, draw one there, draw one there. But what you'll start to see is that there's a pattern that starts to form. Like there's a line that can be drawn through these. So if we were to draw a line, let's actually do that. We'll draw a line here. And I'm going to make it a little bit thicker so that it's easy to see. So if we draw a line that's coming through here, and generally, sometimes you have to play with it a little bit, like your line may not be perfect. And so a lot of times too, I will zoom out a little bit if I'm not sure. But in this case here, it's pretty straightforward. We got a lot of resistance that hit here, a good amount of resistance up in here. We got some resistance in here, but the line makes more sense coming through there.
How come you've got it angled like that? You started on the left down here with the two circles on the left. You've got the peak there on the left, which is the left of the two circles is where the line seems to start.
You can, your resistance can come in a couple different ways. You can have straight resistance that goes straight across, and then you can have an angled resistance such as this. And the reason it's angled is we're looking at drawing a line that sort of shows where things are bouncing. And this is basically a pattern. So it's kind of like a slope. If you think of like just X, Y, when you're plotting things on a graph, you're trying to find a line that best suits through it. And that line indicates that's roughly where the resistance is. There's usually plus or minus a little bit. But here's what's going to be interesting is we can also start looking at the bottom. So if we come down to the bottom, we can draw a second line, and then we have to sort of look at where things, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. We can sort of see where things are starting to move that up there. So we had a lot of resistance in that area, and we had some bouncing off there, and then resistance there, resistance there. So you can see where you're starting to hit, where you start to find resistance. So what you end up getting is you start to end up getting this channel. And this is the channel that we've been looking at. Now, in this case here, I haven't had a chance to fully fiddle, like it's actually going to be a little bit higher. It's going to be about here because we're looking at that. Perfect. This is exactly what we're looking for. So this is the channel that I've been playing with. So when you're looking at things like this and you're looking at action, now this one's a little bit bigger, a little wider than the one I had before, but I will fiddle with the channel as I get more data and more data points. So when you're looking here, we got a couple things happening here right now. Here's one of them. We have the 27-day moving average, and it's bouncing off of that, which is good. That's what we want it to do. If it breaks through that, we still have this channel that we've had bounces off of this channel before. So we have bounces here. We've had a whole bunch of interaction right in around here. We've had interaction here. So this channel has acted as both support and resistance, going back as far as June. All right. Whoops. Got to get rid of that one. There we go. So what you can consume from this, and this is on the one-day chart. So we could be looking at something where it could come down to, in this case here, like I said, I drew this really, really big. This is actually too big. I'm going to, give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull this back. Yeah, and it's not, oh, there's where my issue is. Give me 1 second. Where am I? Here we go. There we go. All right, there we go. That's a little better. So you have to sort of play around too. You want to try to hit as many points where it's bounced as possible, because the more you hit, the more reliable it's going to be. So looking at this channel currently, we're still in it, but we're also at the point, we're at a failure point. If this were to drop below here, so basically if we drop below, I would say even around 52, then we're in trouble, because then we're going to fall down a little bit. But, and give me a second.
See, what I notice is your channel to the right up in the blank is narrowing.
Yeah, that's what normally happens. they're not always straight. And if they narrow, then they form even better patterns. And I'm going to show you something here in a second. So I showed you this main channel.
Would that be it, like as you move, if we were to move more into a narrow channel, would that trigger,
forces it to break?
So does it mean stability?
Not stability. It means that we're going to have something happen.
Okay.
So for example, I'm just going to clear these out of here for the moment. All right. Because these will show up on the other chart. I want to show you something else completely. All right, now. So if you look here at this, we have other possible things as well that are happening. So if we take a line from here, bring it into here, take a line from here, bring it in like this, what you can also see is you can also create a smaller descending channel. Now, with a descending channel like this, that doesn't look good. Like I'm hoping it doesn't follow this pattern because it's going to take it down and probably break down around 50K. And then you're looking at either a break up or a break down. So that's not a healthy channel. But I just wanted to show you this only because it shows what happens when it does. Normally, you won't get a channel that, to me, I wouldn't even do TA on this shape. But it's what kind of happens. Now, you could argue as well. You could even try to argue something like this because you've got 1, 2, 3 points of connection, and then you've got 1, 2, 3 there. Now, if that's the case, and that actually is not that bad of a shape. If that's the case, and we're going to happen, give me 1 second here. Let's get into Doodle. So what you'd be looking at is this is going to come up. It's probably not even going to go very far. So if it were to break up, so you normally will just take a look. It's not a straight line, but that's fine. So you're going to have a line like this. That'll show you where it would break to. So if that were to break, it would break up to 70. If it were to break down, you'd be looking at 42. That's if it follows it exactly. TA it's all probability. Now, there is an interesting thing here, and I want to show you something else.
What about the cross there? What does that mean?
Which cross?
Cross of your lines in your channel.
Oh, that doesn't mean anything. Okay. It's just when Yahoo does the lines, they just let it go forever.
Got it.
So that's why. Normally, if I was doing something like this and I was going to print it on, if I was going to take a screenshot, I would move it right over to the edge here, so you're not even going to see those. And then you would actually see the prices.
So one of the terms I hear a lot is the Fibonacci retracement. What does that mean?
Fibonacci retracement, it's an indicator. So you've got a whole bunch of different indicators. So let's come down to now, where do they have it in here? See, now the way Fibonacci works is because this is all based off of an exponential, so it's not a straight line. So when you see a line going up, it's actually moving exponentially. So it's kind of the way it works. So it's based off of logarithms. So what the Fibonacci and what the banana bread is that? I don't use it very often because I don't find it to be that reliable.
Don't worry about it.
All right. Well, I could just type it in here. Fisher, vertical, horizontal. Yeah, it's not showing in here. But one of the ones I do like, and I'll show you this as well, is the Ichimoku. If I put an Ichimoku Cloud on here, this creates another thing altogether. So the way an Ichimoku Cloud works is the green is support, the red is resistance. So when you look at it from this point of view, we are in an area that could support us. We actually came right down to the bottom of the Ichimoku before we got pushed back up, which is a good sign. But let me show you something that's kind of exciting. I'm going to back us out to the 15. Let's see here. Let's come here. Yeah, we're going to go to the 1 week. Now I'm going to remove these lines here, and we're going to do this entirely by freehand. All right. So, have you ever heard of a cup and saucer?
Nope.
Or a cup and handle? So sometimes you'll get a pattern that looks like this. I'm just gonna make this a little bit darker. And then it's followed like this. So what this does is this pattern here forms a cup. So right in there, you got a cup, and then you got a handle. So the way a cup and handle works, let me get rid of that one there. All right, now get out of that, is when it breaks, it has that potential to break this high. Now, if that were to break that high, it would actually put our friend back in business there. I gotta come up over here because it would take us, it would take us all the way up to like 87K. But here's the problem. Right now, let's come down here. We're just starting to break beneath the upper level of it. So if we actually have a candle that closes below it, now in this case here, this is a 1 week candle. So if the next 1 week candle were to close below this line, it would completely invalidate that shape. So that's kind of another one. There's other ones as well. You've heard of probably head and shoulders. That's another one, inverse head and shoulders. And they, depending on which direction the head and shoulders is going, it will determine whether it's going up or down. But the problem is I find those to not be super reliable. Not when you get to very good shapes, I find those to be a lot more reliable. If that makes any sense.
No, it totally makes sense. This is really interesting stuff, Candace, like really interesting.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it does pull things up here. Now, I'm just going to remove that Ichimoku Cloud there, if it lets me. It's being a little temperamental. There we go. Do it that way. There we go. Because I find the Ichimoku Cloud, I like it because it shows me some interesting resistance levels. But sometimes I find it make a simple thing like this look a lot more complicated because now you can probably see that cup and handle really easily.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, so what's your feelings on this after all the analysis you've been doing? What's your feelings on this?
Okay. Hi, Blaze. She just wants to say hi. Or she doesn't. She just wants treats. Bitcoin right now is not looking so bad. You know, there's the potential. I mean, there's always the potential that it could go down, but I don't think it's going to. And let me just go back to, once again, actually, we're going to go to the 4 hour for the moment here. So when we look at the 4 hour, you know, we've had a little bit of jump. We had a little bit of drop. Now on the 4 hour, it is below my 27 weeks. So that's concerning because when it comes back up, it's going to have to struggle to get back through that because it will act as resistance. Because that's the thing. On this side, it's resistance. Once you break through it, it flips it over to support. So then it will keep it from, oh, my mouse went big. It'll keep it from coming back down. But keep in mind too, this is the way resistance will work. If you keep hitting a resistance, all it is a probability that it's going to deflect and turn around the price movement. So let's say, for example, you had a really strong support and it had about a 90% chance of reflecting you back up, so acting as support. Well, the more times you hit it, eventually on that 100-sided die, you're going to roll from 1 to 10. It's just probability. And that's why the more you keep hitting a support or a resistance, the more likely it is that you're going to eventually break through it.
Mm. So you're feeling optimistic.
I feel optimistic right now. There's still a lot of support below it. There's not really too much bad news. Like I know we had even with this issue that happened between China and everybody going crazy about the human malware variation, it didn't do that bad when you look at how it's acted in the past to similar type things. It plummeted big time. This time it was a more tempered, and plus it started to rebound a little bit fairly quickly. Now, it's definitely going to be something I'll want to watch as we go into the week, because we want to see how it's going to behave, and how the psychology, because we're sort of in this situation too where, people, I think, psychologically, people are in a really weird place. Like, I think they're scared, and they're also completely fed up because, a lot of people are just, it's like, let's put this behind us now. But at the same time, there's that whole fear that, governments might start looking at lockdowns again. It's a lot of craziness in that sense. I'm hoping it doesn't go that way. I don't think it can, to a certain extent, that I don't think we can go back and do what we did at the beginning, for the simple reason that the economy just can't withstand it. And even right now, I mean, one other big issue we have, at least in Canada this week, is we've got 2 more massive storms queuing up to hit BC. The weather network actually has called a red alert on BC. They've never used that before. And BC, in anticipation of these rain events, have started shutting down roads.
Yep.
Because they're concerned that things are going to happen, and they probably will. Like this, and this is interesting too. Like, I actually found out about the red alert on CNN before I found out, from a Canadian site. I was just like, oh, okay.
What about a black swan with this other, with what's going on with South Africa?
I think there's not enough data right now. And honestly, we're not going to find that data is not going to come fast, because they're going to they've labeled it as a variant of concern, which means that they're going to start studying the data on it. They're going to be watching everything. But before we know whether or not, the current measures we have against the current variants are going to be effective against this one, we have to watch it in the wild. Now, as to whether it's going to get out and about, of course it's going to get out and about. That's what viruses do.
Mm-hmm. But I think we're out in front of this more than we were with the first wave, or the first variant, or the first where it all started.
Well, we are, but it's still out and about. And here's the reality. Let's say it turned out to be really bad. The technology that we have for the first one, it's already been invented now. Mm-hmm. So the whole mRNA thing. So, if they have a vaccine, they could make another booster. But then it's just the logistics of getting it out. Because even right now, you look at Africa, only 10% of people in Africa even, got jabbed at all. That's not a huge number.
No.
And that's a type of thing which it basically becomes the way mutations occur. They need a body where they can replicate as much as possible, because that gives you the chance of having a mutation. Because most mutations that happen are so horrible that they just kill the virus immediately. So the virus can't do anything. Mm-hmm. So you've got to find that. It's like Goldilocks. This one's too cold, this one's too hot. Oh, this one's just right. So it's, but at the same time too, hopefully, and this is where we just don't know anything. We've also got that, that pill that's supposed to help once you have it, that, can prevent you from being worse. And if that pill turns around and all of a sudden works on this new variant, then it may not even be so much of an issue. Then it will be more or less that, okay, you get sick, we'll give you a pill, which would be fine. I mean, if that works. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Well, we kind of fell behind people in chat. I'm so sorry, people in chat. So Kevin has 2 stocks, 1 American, and that's 4-hour chart. You know what, Tim? I realized that as I was leaving. I'm like, holy banana bread, that is the 4-hour chart. Because I was talking about it in days. But just think about it, instead of days, it was in 4-hour blocks. Where are the clouds? So those who understand human psychology are the ones who are rich. I would like them to explain the ladies to me. What I understand about ladies could fit on a paper airplane. True story. I once got cut by a paper airplane. Somebody threw one just as I turned around, and it caught me in the cheek, and the point caught me dead on the cheek and cut me. I couldn't believe it. I was actually rather impressed, because that's like the most fascinating way I've ever been cut. And then Dave D, yes, I heard about all of these, but know nothing about them. And that's the thing. Sometimes you have to play with it a little bit. The big thing to keep in mind when it comes to technical analysis is just to realize it's not infallible. It's all about, well, it's all about probability. That's what it all boils down to. And I don't want to bring up quantum mechanics, but I will. It's sort of similar to when you start to think about a quantum version of an atom. So when you look at an atom, you've got a nucleus and you've got an electron. Now, in the classical thinking, people used to think the electron sort of moved around like a planet, revolving around it, but it doesn't. And that's because of something called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So you can't actually know where that electron is and its speed at the exact same time. So you can't have all the information. So what that does is that electron doesn't exist in a single space. It actually exists in a probability shell. So when you have like an orbital, like an s orbital, which is the first orbital when you're dealing with chemistry, all that s orbital tells you is that there's a 90% probability that the electron is somewhere in it, but the electron could be way outside of it because that is a probability. So and it's the same thing with trading. It all boils down to probability. You know, the stock is probably going to go this way, but it can go that way. Very much sort of that whole similar thing. You don't know until it happens. That's why when you use technical analysis, if you do your nice little triangle and it says, oh, if it goes up, it's going up here, well, you want to wait till you see it break out before you even start to, especially if you're into doing leverage. So if you do if you do longing or shorting, you don't want to do it until you've got a confirmation out into your breakout. And even then you want to pay attention, because sometimes it will do something what we call a fake out, which is where it breaks out and then just zips back in and goes the other way. It happens sometimes, not often, but usually once it's broken out and it's moving pretty quickly, you know that you're safe at that point. And sometimes when you look at bigger patterns, if your smaller patterns are playing into some of your bigger ones, sometimes it then gives you a bit more confidence when it comes to, let's say if you were going to do a long, then you would do your long based on the longer pattern, using confirmations from a few of the shorter patterns, because it all sort of works together. So it's one of those things. Anytime you can't figure out what's going on, you just keep zooming out until you can see what is happening.
Yeah. Well, there on some levels, Candace, I actually hope Plan B is right. Not because of a personal gain, although that would be nice, but because he was so convinced of it.
Mm-hmm. But that's the one thing with trading, is that being so convinced of something can be it can be a blinder to what's going on, and you can miss things because you've got yourself to the point that you're so bullish. You always have to have in the back of your mind, there's a possibility it's going to go in the other direction. There's a possibility that I'm wrong, because you take the best, you find the best trader on the entire planet, and I guarantee you they do not have 100% right record. They probably have, I would say, maybe if they're insanely exceptional, they might have an 85% win track from using analysis. Like a lot of, when it comes to stocks, you have people who use technical analysis, you have other people who use fundamental analysis. So fundamental analysis is studying what's going on in the company and looking at all of that information. And then you also have people who do sort of a hybrid when it comes to that. I think the hybrid provides a lot more data, so it helps. But at the same time, any single stock, any single crypto can do the completely unexpected when you least expect it to. And that's where that whole black swan event comes from. It's just, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
When they declared that human malware event, a lot of people lost money who were doing longs at that point because everything looked rosy, and then all of a sudden we had that giant crash. Even though we rebounded right away, it didn't matter. It was enough to liquidate people.
No, it's totally true.
And
Totally
it
true.
happens.
Yeah. Well, Candace, this has been a lot of fun. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed learning this stuff. Really, really enjoyed learning it. And thank you so much for having us.
Well, no, it's been a great time. So is there any last questions, everybody, before we wrap this up? We'll give you just a couple of minutes here. So what's up next for you guys?
Well, the networking.
Networking on Wednesday. And I don't know what's going to fall out of the sky before then. I've got to get some videos released that I've got sort of on deck in the can.
You got the part 2 of our.
I know.
Of our one.
Shh, I feel bad about that. I woke up last night and went, "Oh my God."
No,
because one of my son's friends phoned me about taxes. I said, "Well, I got some great videos," and I went, shite, I only have the first one up. It's like, so that I promise that goes up tomorrow. I promise.
Okay, perfect. And then we get the, just reach out to me and we can make sure we get the spreadsheet up as well.
I tried loading that up. I have no idea how to do that.
You're probably going to have to get me to do it for you.
Okay.
Because I know when I set it up on Rise channel, it was a pain because I had to play around and find it, but I found it. So,
yep, no problem.
It would be a good thing. All right.
Yep.
Last comment of the night. I didn't see any tattoos during the stream.
I don't have any.
I don't
doesn't have any.
Just a birthmark.
No. And mine
got one too,
are all
but I can't
covered at
show
the
it.
moment. But all right, everybody. This has been a wonderful night. Thank you guys all for showing up. I really appreciate seeing you guys here. I will have a new video out for you on Monday. For those of you who love dividends, it will be a dividend video. So it's going to be an awesome one. Dividends and ETFs at the same time.
Fun.
And then don't forget, Crypto Night in Canada, Wednesday night, the meet and greet. You got to be there. I want to meet every single one of you guys.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
All right, everybody. It has been fun. We will see you guys again soon, live in the Financial Verse.